And this gives me a good segue to TAS, because you're a developer now, and you used to be running an infrastructure group at the Africa Development Bank. So what do you see as some of the challenges that needs to be addressed for you now as a developer to come in and build those projects, particularly in the energy sector, but we can talk about other infrastructure sector. But energy is certainly key. I understand that energy is extremely key. And by the way, the new president of the Africa Development Bank is also mentioning the New Deal in energy. And I think everybody is converging that energy is such an important first step to do all other type of development agenda in Africa. Please, Tas. Go ahead.
Thank you, Alan. First of all, let me correct the record. Mr. Yumkela said that I am still African Development Bank. Actually, I moved. I spent 7.5 years in Africa through African Development Bank in infrastructure sector. I was heading the infrastructure investments from the PPP and IPP's perspective. And 2 years ago, I was requested by the president of African Development Bank to design a new infrastructure finance vehicle, which is established. I am sure everyone heard about it, Africa50. And how we came to this conclusion actually is very, very relevant to our discussion. Mr. Yumkala mentioned this railway project in East Africa and the success story. Actually, it was done by Africa50 in connection with 3 countries, Kenya, Uganda, and Rwanda. The presidents, they gave very clear instruction. There's no time. You have to deliver in 6 months. It was interesting. You have 9 sections. And some sections you have existing studies, some sections you have nothing, and basically you have 3 sets of ministers, infrastructure, finance, and also line ministry is transport. Well, it was a success story. In 6 months, a combination of the partnership, Africa50, and the 3 countries, we deliver a bankable business plan. 2,000 kilometers, $15 billion project. It means it can happen. So, Alan, you asked that, what were the challenges? In 7.5 years, I noted that there are actually 4 main challenges. The first of all, that is never an ever problem in infrastructure finance in the continent. That is available, provided that you have bankable projects. The biggest problem in the continent is the deal flow. Bankable projects coming to the market every year, not more than 5, 6. When the projects are actually reaching the bankability, it is a huge competition for debt financing, also for the equity financing. But biggest problem is bringing those projects to the bankability. Project development is costly. Project development is risky. No one wants to invest in this area. Lack of early risk takers. Private equity, they always want to come at the last minute when the deal is ready to go to financial close. They create a huge competition, they increase the premium, and because of their due diligence process, projects are delayed. When it comes to project development today, mostly it is seen as a public good. Everybody expects governments to prepare those projects. And everybody at the same time agrees that governments, they don't have the human capacity, they don't have the skill sets. How about the financial? How about the financial capacity? Project development is costly. Again, I would like to remind that. In Africa, project development cost today is 10% of the total project cost because it is lengthy, because it is expensive, and the project development time frame is getting longer, project development is more expensive. And today, development is mostly financed through grant facilities. Grant facilities are actually fragmented in small amounts in different organizations. So therefore, even those organizations are helping to the governments, it is very difficult for the government to take and turn those projects into commercial structure and offer to the investors. So this is one of the biggest gaps. I think infraventures are working in this area. So why I moved to this stage? Why I moved to this area? Because I saw the opportunity. And also, I realized that this area, project development, requires financial skills, people, they know the sector, but also people, they have the understanding of the operations in Africa and in African countries. I joined a small developer group called Temiz Infrastructure. And Temiz is actually 2 years old, but interesting. While the projects are developed 7 to 10 years in Africa, Temiz has 2 projects that are going to reach the financial close in less than 3 years. One is in Rwanda. It's a 70 megawatt thermal power plant. We all know that Rwanda has only 115 megawatt. 70 megawatt will be adding 60% additional base load and cheap power to the grid. Then you can add as much as renewable. And this project, during the construction, will employ 1,100 people. And during the operation, including the mining, 200 people. And again, 60% addition to the energy. The second one is a different, because first one was easy. The original developer had the development capital, and there was no financial problem, so we went very fast. Second one is a 44 megawatt hydro in Ivory Coast. Actually, we started with sweat equity. And then we were able to bring development capital, $3 million from AFC and FMO, financial institutions. A little bit expensive. But just recently, there was a competition, African Development Bank, World Bank, USAID, and West African Development Bank. 100 projects were screened, 30 shortlisted, and our project won $1 million grant, meaning that this will be a blended financing, commercial and also grant. But what is the approach? Approach is pure commercial. If we don't bring the commercial approach to project development, I am sorry, 5 years later, we will still sit here and talk about 93 billion.
Thank you very much, Tas. I really like this panel because they are policy people and then developers, practical people, and that's what it takes actually to make the infrastructure development pick up in the continent.
Doing business in Africa, you can't afford to be without Africa Investor.